for how you were chosen to do, you said it's the Pan American Games?
No, it's USA World Qualifying.
World Qualifying. Just give me some info on how they selected you and what all led up to that.
Well, I was actually selected by Coach Cremins. He was named the head coach by USA basketball president, and then he picks the two assistants, and he picked me as one of the two assistants.
Okay. Now, once you were selected and all of the team was assembled, what was the feeling going into that? Was there a lot of pressure, or?
Well, I'd never done it before. And by the way, the other assistant was Joby Wright, who was assistant at Indiana under Coach Bobby Knight, and who'd been a great player himself. But it was exciting because we were going to be working with USA basketball, and we went to Colorado Springs for 2 weeks training. And we actually had a scrimmage with Canada while we were there, and that was preparing us to go to Mexico City at the conclusion of those 2 weeks.
Wow. So who are some of the players you had on the team?
We had top players 19 and under. While we didn't have any juniors, I don't know, but we had juniors and under. We didn't have any. We had Chris Corchiani, Roddy Monroe, Christian Leitner, Gary Payton. I mean, there were a lot of. One of my players from East Tennessee, Greg Dennis, but they were all. Everybody played in the NBA that was on that team.
Wow.
So it was a very good team, very talented, and they were a great group of young men, and we enjoyed it. The 2 weeks.
So this is around the same time of the aftermath of the international game really growing and other countries working hard to build like big-time programs to be ready for the Olympics.
It was, and the United States was already established, and a lot of the other countries, have not really didn't like the fact that America was dominating, which we had through the years. And we didn't win it every year, but we'd done pretty well. But it was exciting going to Mexico City. But this was a little different. This wasn't the Olympics. This was just North and South America.
Okay.
And I learned something. The only English-speaking countries were us and Canada, and all the others had different languages, of course, which we didn't know, which made it interesting and unusual. Brazil, Dominican Republic, Cuba. It's great getting to know people from the other countries. It was really a wholesome environment.
Okay, so once you guys got tipped off and you start practicing and then you get into the games, what are some of the things you guys had to deal with? What was that like?
Well, the thing was they didn't always have interpreters there. I went out the first night to see which basket was ours, and the official said, me don't speak English, and all I was asking was which basket did we warm up at. And so I finally found a guy that was an interpreter, and they did not have an interpreter at the pre-tournament meeting the day before. So we didn't know all the things going on, and so we played that first game, and we finally found out where we warm up. But we lose the game, and that was not good. We didn't know how bad it was until after the game.
Okay.
And after the game, we learned from Dave Gavitt, who was the president of the USA Basketball, that if we lose the next night, the United States is not in the Olympics the next year.
Wow.
Because there were like, let's say 16 countries, I don't know how many, but anyone that lost their first two, that puts you in the loser's pool automatically. If you're in the loser's pool, you continue playing your schedule, but you're not going to qualify even if you win out, because once you enter that loser's pool, that you couldn't get back over the other one. And so we had as much pressure on us, our staff did, that next night as we had ever in any game I ever coached or the others ever coached either.
So how did you and the coaching staff and the players kind of react to that pressure?
Well, we had to toughen up, to say the least, and It was, I'd never experienced anything like this, and we later realized that this was more pressure than if we were coaching at a college. And I have coached at college where maybe if I lost the last game or two, I could be fired. But you can get another job, and I've been in that situation before. But this situation was worse than coaching a game in college, that if you don't win, you get fired. But with this one, the United States is in the Olympics, and that's scary. And so, needless to say, it was the most pressure any of us had ever felt in coaching basketball, before or since. I was the coach at East Tennessee State at that time in '89, and I coached, some games that my career was on the line at the Citadel, and I later coached the same kind of games at NC State. But this was far and above any of those situations.
And you said you and Coach Bob, you guys were working together on that staff, so you guys are really leaning on each other, I bet, for
oh yes, we did. We became very close, and we knew it was going to be a tough situation, and we fortunately beat Brazil. And the crazy thing, the game was over with about 30 seconds to go. I don't know, we were up 8 or 10. I don't remember what it was. We had a meaningless brawl. A player threw the ball off the back of another player, and just a skirmish. And next thing you know, everybody's involved.
Man.
And but they broke it up, and we got out of there. Everybody's okay. And we were staying in the same hotel with Brazil. And the next morning, we all ate breakfast in there at the same place, a buffet breakfast. And they had the best player in the whole tournament, Oscar Schmidt. And Oscar Schmidt's one of the greatest all-time basketball players anywhere. He had a standing contract in the NBA, but they kept him in Brazil somehow. And he got, I think, 52 against us.
Wow.
So
52.
We were trying to stop him. So we did not stop Oscar, but we did win the game.
Now, what was the atmosphere of the game like? Because, like you said, you mentioned the brawl. It must have been an intense game all the way through.
It was intense all the way through, but the weird part, there was never any skirmish or anything, and the game's over. And one of our players picked up his dribble, and there was nobody past you right there, but nobody's really guarding him. He didn't need to do it, but he just sort of didn't throw it hard, just off the back of the player. Went and got it so he could keep going. And next thing, that player came back, I think, thought he was trying to hit him or something. And he went at him, and we shouldn't have probably thrown the ball, but next thing you know, we were out there in the middle, and I remember Bobby tackling Oscar Schmidt, and I mean, we were as guilty as they were.
Yeah.
And it was a real tough game, but nobody got hurt, and everybody got out of there. And the next morning, everything was peaceful in the Marietta downtown.
Now, as a coach, experiencing all of that, and I mean, getting the chance to represent your country, especially when there's an elimination game on the line, just so you guys can qualify. What advice would you give to a coach who's in a pressure situation, or players who, one day are thinking about going into the coaching ranks and having to deal with any type of pressure? What would you tell a young coach?
Well, I've been in pressure situations at 3 schools. I've had losing records. I've had 2 jobs that I inherited NCAA probation. And I say you just, make the best of all situations. I had some bad situations, but we came out of it in all of them. And you have to be patient and not go crazy. The sun's going to come up the next day. And it's not life and death. It's very important. It's your career. I love basketball. It's my whole career. But you have to take everything in perspective. And I had some bad losing streaks, and lost 9 in a row one time, I think it was, at NC State. But we came out of it with a big, big win on the road.
Wow.
And because we didn't go crazy, and we were undermanned, and we were on probation. We had some restrictions, but we made it. And you just got to keep your wits and stay confident, even though it's tough, and keep the player spirits up. That's the psychology. That's very important.
That's right. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time. That's an amazing story. I think a lot of people just don't know, and they need to know. And that's great advice, too, for young coaches. Keep things in perspective understand that, like you said, the sun will come back up tomorrow. Right. You know, and this game, although it's our passion, it's just a game. And there's more important things. So.
Thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it very much. Been enjoying working with you all week, too.
Yes, sir. Appreciate your time.